Land use regulations are mandated by state and federal government. If there were no such mandates, how far do you believe the county should go in restricting the issuance of permits to property owners on the basis of protecting the environment?
I often joke within our household, and I'll tell you the joke that I tell. John Miller wants to protect the salmon. I want to mooch for it with a cut plug and eat the salmon. My husband's a Fish and Wildlife officer, so I have to add without barbed hooks. There's a certain amount of self-government regulations that we do amongst ourselves. We don't want to overfish. We don't want to overgraze our properties. We don't want to take too many trees. I think we naturally have that instinct to protect. And we also have to adjust to the people that love the area as much as we do. We came here for the natural beauty of the land and for the streams. I'm not a big proponent of taking away. I like that at times we have to put our foot down, whether it be across the fence to our neighbor or that we have to stop someone on the street and discuss something maybe that we didn't agree with. When it comes to land use, I would probably still have enforcement. And yet I would be reasonable with it, and I would have it in today's times available on our website and clearly communicated to the contractors. I'd make sure that we knew up front and we explained the different regulations in such a manner that we all knew it was a level playing field. But I'm not a big proponent of laws and regulations. I just happen to have enforced them for several years.
Thank you. So the ground rule is 1 minute of a rebuttal. Real quickly, when I moved to this county in 1993, it was in the fall to take my position with the Lower Elwha tribe. And in all sincerity, I took that position because of the legislation that the first George Bush had signed in the fall of 1992 that authorized the restoration of the ecosystem of the Elwha River. And I wanted to participate in that, and I think I was somewhat instrumental in keeping that moving forward and the tribe being involved. 1994, therefore, was the first full year that I lived in Clallam County. And there was a salmon derby parade in 1994. People who were here may remember that. However, there was no salmon derby in 1994. In the mid-1990s, there were no silver seasons. It wasn't until the late 1990s that silver seasons in the Strait resumed. And I was able to participate in several of those. The reason that I am so interested in salmon habitat protection and restoration is so that there will be fish for our kids and grandkids to catch. Thank you. I may be going to draw a question.
I don't agree with the removal of the Elwha Dam. My husband spent 32 years with the Department of Fish and Wildlife as enforcement, and I got the on that portion of the lack of salmon take during those years. So without having to call him forward and getting my in-house representative up, I do not believe you're correct, John.
To what degree do you believe land use and building code regulations impact housing affordability?
Well, there are some expenses that have to do with on-site erosion control plans. And my guess is that as the Puget Sound Partnership becomes more well-established for those portions of Clallam County that drain into the Strait of Juan de Fuca, There will be additional stormwater requirements that will apply to all of Puget Sound. For people who may not have followed this one, in 2007, when the state legislature established the Puget Sound Partnership, they defined Puget Sound as extending from Point Maughees on the Canadian border up by Blaine to Cape Flattery in Clallam County. And we used to think that Puget Sound was, you entered it at Admiralty Inlet over by Port Townsend. But again, my guess is that we will end up with some additional stormwater controls. The goal, of course, would be to have zero stormwater off-site. And as the bumper sticker says, everybody lives downstream. And when we allow stormwater to flow off of our property, it does impact our downstream neighbors. So I can't say really pick out a percentage on the degree or a dollar amount, but it does impact housing affordability in a small and marginal way.
Our state and local regulations and how they are interpreted directly affect affordable housing in our area. For a short while, until the local Home Builders Association successfully argued the point, we were requiring that a 2-foot foundation under your home for a newly built home would have to have a water protectant seal painted onto the outside of that home. The idea behind this code was for basements where you would live, for the lower grade floor in which your house existed. It had nothing to do with what was underneath the foundation, this 2-foot area. And it was directly affecting the turnaround time that they had, the amount of materials and labor that the contractors had to put into it. And it also is affected by our energy codes and some of the regulations that are mandated there, so it directly affects it.
30 seconds. Thank you. As was put forward to the readers of the Peninsula Daily News a couple of Sundays ago, the former president of the North Peninsula Builders Association brought this very issue to the attention of the public, and it is something that he brought to my attention as director when I was new in this office in 2007. And the county building official did some research on the required damp proofing of the poured foundation in the Squim Prairie, and we removed that requirement.